Hello everybody, doing another video running through the ECQ best performing decks. This is the deck that was played to the finals and didn't quite take it down but did very well, of course. That is the Feln Control deck that came from John K's, I think is the name, that he goes by online, or assuming he, but so yeah, that's what we're running through today. We're going to do a few games like that and hoping once again to do 5 games with this deck like I did yesterday with the Genève deck, and talk a little bit about what's going on in the deck in the meantime. This seems good enough. I will admit, though, that this is actually a deck that I have played a little bit before. Unlike the one from yesterday, I just fully picked it up and decided to try out some games with it just totally cold. This is one that I actually have played a couple games before. It was a couple days ago when it kind of first came out, because I thought that it was unusual in some of the construction of the deck. So I have some impressions of it already, and I will try to make sure that those don't color it too much, the video too much, because my opinions aren't necessarily supportive of all of the decisions that are made here. This is, in some respects, a very unusual take on Feln. In general, I haven't been excited about Feln for a while. Like, I mean, I like the deck in theory, in many respects, but it's got some serious downside, some serious issues. I like the playstyle, especially like old Feln back when it was really good in set 1, like that metagame. But since then, it's just never been nearly as good in my mind. Okay, well, this is going to do the following. So pinging Aegis is not particularly important against the Genève decks. The reason I'm doing this is I want to be able to shift this to the bottom if I am given the opportunity. Maybe I should have ordered this differently. I don't know. They likely have a torch here, is what this reads. But once we get to the market, we're going to see the market at some point, and I'll kind of explain some of my issues with the deck. You can probably see it, like, once again, it's right above me right now. Don't feel as if I need 2 suffocates. 1 should be fine. It's not great in this matchup, as you should know. But like, so some of the things that jump out to the deck, like, I'm immediately, like, In Cold Blood is a card that is definitely really good in some particular matchups, but other matchups it's really bad. Like in this one, it's going to be horrible. By the way, this is, I'm assuming, the matchup that Feln deck ended up losing in the finals. So if that suggests anything, this probably is not a great matchup. It is, of course, best to keep as much of the primal influence as possible, because I am looking to. So I'm need to draw 3, discard 1. I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, I don't overdraw here. Just want to double check that. I'm probably going to keep the suffocate and then kill it. I don't believe I need 2 annihilates, especially with a office in hand. I want to keep both my power because I have the office. I do have ways to get rid of extra power, though, between the strategizes, of course, and the merchants and etc. So I think I want to do this so that I can set up for next turn Diesel's office. I also want to keep everything off the battlefield as much as possible. I guess if they played a, what do you call there, a Howling Peak, it wouldn't be the end of the world, because I can just. So I'm assuming that we're going to get something like equivocated here. But yeah, like if they had a Howling Peak, they would play the mirror image on the Titan, and then I could annihilate it from underneath it. Assuming we get Heart of the Vault here. No. Interesting. Okay, let's do this. Face Aegis is good in this matchup. Should be noted that it's like okay rather in this matchup, not insane. I am. What do they have in hand? Like Mola and Nakova? That's a really bold get. My opponent is playing very strange. I don't know what they have in their hand. So I am. The reason that I'm doing this now is it definitely exposes it to something like a Zelchi if they do have it in their hand or if they draw it right now. I also think there's a reasonable chance that they have the impulse here. I just kind of want to force them to play some cards. And yeah, this is, I want to find some threats like this gentleman right here. So the purpose here is to try to induce them to do basically anything, because they're gonna have cards in their hand that do something. I guess that they don't though. If you paid me $100 to guess what is in their hand, I just would not be able to do it with any level of accuracy. Like what on earth were they holding there? I guess. Oh hey, we got another bear. Very cool, very cool. Mokanati, and first win of the day as well. We get to watch me open all of my swag. So we didn't actually see the market there, but it'll of course come up in one of the other games, and we'll see what was up there. But I mean, my opponent was really didn't do it. I guess if you just had like mono sights in hand, like I mean, even if you had though the Howling Peak, you could shoot down my Black Sky Harbinger. I don't know. I honestly don't know what's in their hand. This seems fine. Very good against something like Huru. I think that the purpose really of this deck, I actually should touch on that, but I think that the fundamental theory behind this deck is to absolutely fucking smash Huru. Like the Huru mid-range decks, Huru flyer type decks. That matchup, I think, is borderline unlosable. It is. Assuming that both players have functional draws, your win rate should be well above like 70%, because you have things like the Vara's Favor to kill, the Hojons, you have Black Sky Harbinger if that's where the game ends up going. I'm against Reanimator. This matchup is really bad. Yeah, Clan Standard is going to do fuck all here. The Vara is also not great in this matchup, because if they have any of one of their shitters, it will be, oh god, they've got the goods, right? So basically they just need a Black Sky Harbinger in their void here, and then like the game is like basically unlosable. Don't know about playing the Sabotage right now. I actually appreciate them not playing the Sabotage right there. I think that's good. I think that you want to hold it in case I have something like some like a gift can sometimes be annoying in the matchup. Not sacrificing there, I'm almost certain is a mistake. I guess they could have Desecrate here, which is a little bit annoying. Please don't have a Black Sky Harbinger. Yeah, I'm gonna get Sabotage here though. Yeah, because you also want to clear out like something like a counterspell. And assuming that I draw it this turn, or if I like played a merchant and then got a counterspell here, then that would have been frustrating. So not sacrificing here, I actually think is basically just a mistake, because having Vara as not deadly and dead to the Suffocate is actually a pretty big deal. I guess in like old versions of the deck, we don't know. Ooh, they don't have a Grasp. That's excellent. So in that case, we are just on the kill them as quickly as possible plan. Yeah, we're gonna do this. Yep. Resolves. I still like totally like, even though I am definitely ahead, there is no universe in which I beat a grasp here. Okay, do this first. I think that so if they have another Black Sky Harbinger here, and then they have a Vara in hand, unless I draw something like a Vara's Favor, I actually probably lose. Okay, because I was thinking that they would get gain some life there as well. So they get the privilege of ranks. They're going to have the Vara next turn, but assuming that they don't have any other pieces of interaction, then I am going to be able to kill them before then, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, that is. I guess that's 1, 2, 3. Huh? All 4 Varas. Let's just do this. So they don't have a Vara next turn guaranteed. Yep, that's nothing. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, obviously this is part of the nature of this deck, is that it does have a certain fail rate. I did also have access to a Steward of the Past there. I mean, well, like, one of these days I'm going to actually get a chance to play with the market and then have a chance to discuss what's going on there. I don't really think, though, that the Steward of the Past is particularly good right now. A lot of the Graveyard Center, Void Center decks, like the Reanimator, has kind of gone away. And I also think that Steward of the Past is not a great answer there, because, like, for example, had I played out the Steward at any point previously in the game before they played out double of the Spore Folk, I would have still been really behind. This hand is really clunky, and I mean, like, obviously Strategize can just draw me into the goods, but it's not worth risking it. This is much better, and it's really good against the Huru decks, if that is what I end up playing against. I'm shocked by how much Huru has just, like, dropped off the map, though, since the weekend. Very likely against Pledge here, because you could just see the ordering here. They're playing, obviously it's possible that they started out with a Justice Sigil in hand and then play the Crest afterwards, but given the fact that Pledge is a prominent deck and popular deck, it's more likely that they are on a Pledge deck and that they drew into what they wanted. This is part of the reason, though, that I am keeping the Vara's Favor, because the chances that they have a Hojon in hand is still very real. Okay, so they are on not a 2-faction build, but on a 3-faction build. That's fine. Vara's Favor is still, like, okay-ish here. Not at its not nearly as good, though. I guess it does a lot of things in this matchup, though. Like, if you see Uru, this is a card that is important to keep, unless you, like, really learn, very quickly that they are in an actual controlling build of the deck, because they play the Shelterwing Riders. There's the Hojons as well. If they play out something like they get the Withstand off on a unit, you can then pierce their edges. So there's lots of things that the Vara Savers do. So unless you're, like, really forced to play it out, I would keep it in hand for as long as possible. Okay, I'm just gonna do this. We're just gonna stare at each other for a while. No Vargo is great, though. That would have been really frustrating to deal with. Oh, hey, Shelterwing Rider. Given especially this setup right now, I think that the best thing to do is Pierce. They have Torch, by the way. Very likely Torch. They could also have a Finest Hour and then kill it. Because the reason why this is super important is because they have the Withstand next turn. I'm just really fucking dead. So being able to actually take advantage of that is useful. I don't know what I care about here. I don't really think that Phase Aegis is that important. Probably actually should just send the Cobalt Waystone. I am going to annihilate this. Yeah, let's keep that. Because they don't have a lot of mono-faction units in their deck. May as well keep that off the board, especially because like once you get a Withstand on anything, you're in huge trouble. There's an argument here to just play out a Palace if they have it. Seems that they don't, though. My hand is quickly running dry. Well, we have Vara's Favor in abundancy. I just don't want to get palaced. That could very easily bite me in the ass. Oh, that's excellent for me. I could actually, if I had like infinite power, I could go Vara's Favor, Vara's Favor, Vara's Favor, Blaska Harbinger, but we do not live in that world. I'm actually just going to play out one of these, though, just to get it out of my deck. Interesting. I am expecting to get palaced here and then lose, basically because of that. Okay, that's not as bad. I don't mind this getting copied, all things considered. This is for the purposes of setting up a Blaska Harbinger plus ping next turn if I happen to draw it. Now, I also keep the one here in case I do get hit by a Vargo or some such thing, or like an Aegis unit. I would usually play a Cobalt Waystone here in order to give myself base Aegis. Not really that important here, but I also want to just clear out any extra power. We finally have a unit. It will die. I'm sure this is a shock to all of you. Who could have seen this coming? I know that I didn't. I'm shocked and appalled. This is, of course, frustrating. I don't want them to have more cards. Hey, I want more cards. This is definitely coming into a control-centric battle. I really just want more cards. So this is actually where the market does get good. What I do here is I get Vara Fate Touched. Now, they kind of have to kill the Corendon Merchant somehow. Okay, that's fine. But what I get to do then is play Vara, bring back the Corendon Merchant, get a Dark Return for Vara. So I kind of get to set up this chain, functionally. Very hard time guessing what that is right now. Probably Palace, which is terrifying. And I have no answers to any of this. Because this is part of the reason why I just despise playing what's like functionally like a hard control deck in the metagame nowadays. It is very, very hard to actually get any of your cards to stick. I'm tempted to get Mug here. To get a Palace, but I'm probably still just dead to the things that are in the air. I think that I just need to do this to stay ahead in terms of card advantage. Yeah, Vanquish. Palace. Onto Senior Shelter Wing. Let's do this. I just like the idea of piercing the Aegis. It gives me a bunch of health, basically, too. Yeah, I think I just have to go for the Vara play here. So Vara, play it out. And then go for Black Sky Harbinger. As I just want to gain a bunch of life. Oof, yeah, that's the game. Right, they could have also just done that. I always just have a default of having the Wisdom of the Elders. So that's 3 games right now we've played with it. But yeah, the issue with any sort of deck like this that is very dedicated, hard control, doesn't really have a particularly aggressive game plan that I can implement with any degree of consistency. Like the early units that we have in this deck are Merchant and Vara, Baby Vara, and what happens there is if you get behind in any way in a matchup like that one, there's just no way to recover because you just get buried by sights. Like you kind of saw that I had to invest a bunch of resources to try to counteract any of the sites. Like they got so much value, even though the first one like was not great, but it was like giving just the Caleb and having the recycle ability there, it was just backbreaking, and I couldn't do anything about it. So I am pretty down on a hard control style deck because it does feel pretty easy to play against if you build your decks correctly and you're good at measuring your threats. I got the impression that my opponent was sort of patient in playing things out. They could have There's probably some situations where they could have played things out a little bit faster than they did, but like metering things out kind of forced me to play into things. This hand has problems. Let's do a redraw. Ugh. Yeah, sure, we'll do it. It has got Suffocate, though. Suffocate and Strategize. What do I really have to complain about? I also hate these clan standards. I think they do absolutely nothing. It's especially since when people actually know about them, they're a lot worse. I mean, like, yes, they're going to do something some of the time. It's just not really what I want to be about. Don't really want that, especially against a deck that is playing Justice, which could be very aggressive. Same story as last time, by the way. Of I think the Champion of Cunning goes to the bottom. That one was harder. Interesting. So he is probably a more mid-rangey build, not a more controlling build. This is good actually. So play a Wisdom. I always want to do this first, of course, in case I get something like a Seat here. Do not get it. I don't want to just play a Vara here. It's just not nearly as effective. Okay, so I guess that they are maybe more like they could still be the pledge builds too. That would kind of make sense. You want to play out threats before drawing cards in situations like this, because you want to sort of force your opponent to respond to you. Especially like this is probably. It's hard for me to know quite yet exactly what's going on. So the pledge mid-range build. There's nothing that I can really do about Palace. I'm actually just going to draw 2 cards trying to find an Annihilate. They seem to have a fast spell. So I'm going to do this. Should have been a little bit faster there on my end of pressing the button so that my opponent would have a harder time reading if they had the if I had the Annihilate. Now they do get the 5-drop here, which is annoying. But I get to do the following. This is also just an absolute fucking disaster for my opponent. I guess they got the extra unit there. It's like, so she was kind of free. So it's not the end of the world for my opponent, but they have 6 cards in hand. I have 7 cards in hand. They have 6 power. I have so like I think I'm ahead by 1 card. Not being able to play out the Vara's favored last turn was frustrating, though. That for a draw, too? Are you serious? I will fucking take it. Wow. Yeah. Just feeding me cards. Like, they really have to find something to kind of go over the top, which is going to be hard. There's part of me that wants to hold off on Honor of Claws. Okay, draw a bunch of power. That's fine with me. Discard that one. Mirror Image, sure. I'm still pretty convinced that they have some sort of fast spell. Because they have not marketed since then. I think I saw one earlier. So with that in mind, I am... So, because the reason why that I'm hesitant to play out the Black Sky Harbinger is because it means that they can just play a fast spell onto Hojon here, and then they get the power from their deck and will buff both of them. If this one was not still have Renown, I would definitely play out Black Sky Harbinger here, because it would just like force them to actually like play a card for it. But I think that I'm going to do this first. Cut ties right here. Cut these specific ties. Cut ties with Hojon. Uh-huh. What do they need that power for? Confused. There's a lot of power you already have here. You are allowed to activate. If this is what you're just doing with your time, then fucking go for it. I have no idea what's going on. They have no more fast spells. All of these are really good. Actually, I think it comes down to really... Let's go in Cold Blood. Just get their threat density down at this point. Like, obviously, that's not like a major consideration in a world like this, since they're like really fucking dead. Like, look at, they have 3 cards in hand, and I have like bajillion. Okay, so you are going to get something like Martyr's Chains here. Oh, Svetia, sure. Even that isn't the end of the world. Since I can, like, there are various ways to play. If I get a Vara, like a baby Vara, onto the battlefield, then, like, all's fine. So here... Like, this is part of the reason why I think that the big Svetia is just not very good. Because, like, even like a control deck like this one can play over it, and there are a number of other control decks that can play over it. Okay, Rising Storm kills my Dizo's Office. Pff, resolves. There's just going to the Office all day long. Technically, I should play the Crest first so that I had more information. Don't really think that it's going to be relevant, though. That is going to the bottom very quickly. Scheme, I want a hard removal spell. Or a threat, I suppose. Baby Vara. That, yeah, exactly. That's what I want. Shouldn't play this out first, actually. Playing a little bit loose at this point, but that's because I'm just miles ahead. They have multiple? They have double... They have double, what's it called now? They're dead to Vara's favor. BT dubs. And if they don't do something right here, okay, I do this, and then I can kill them here. But I even had like other outs where I could play out Vara and annihilate this, or like ping with the Vara's favor, etc. So you can kind of see some of the issues with the like big Sveti here is like this is supposed to be the matchup where she's at her best, but she just was super late to the party, and I cleaned out so much of it. Like, I mean, there were definitely also some weird plays from my opponent. Like, I think that they wasted a few resources, but I'm not sure. It was a little bit strange. How many games are we at right now? So one more, once again. Always forget. I'm really not drawing my merchants very much to kind of suss out my opinions on that subject and kind of see if it bears out that I have issues with the market. But I mean, like, it doesn't bother me not being forced to play the bad market stuff. Well, one thing that you guys might have picked up on this from like hearing me talk in various videos is that I kind of roughly pay attention to the kinds of decks that my opponents tend to play. My opponent here is LV. They have a tendency to play like time-based multiple faction aggro decks. Is kind of what I associate them with. This could very easily fit into something like that. Like, I know them as someone who's played a lot of... I don't know if I told them that they'll be my Huckleberry, because that's important to me. But yeah. So my first mulligan was in the sake of saying, like, I definitely can't win against an aggressive draw. And, I mean, right now I'm clearly already, like, a million miles behind. I suppose that I'm not that worried about Scorpions because I have the Black Sky Harbinger. If they do have the Obelisk, things get more difficult. This is the best case scenario for that, though, getting that one to the bottom. Once the Stinger resolves, like, getting it with Suffocate is not nearly as big of a deal. This is the main reason why Suffocate is, like, not great, because against something particularly like Stinger, I think that going into this weekend, the past weekend rather, it was Suffocate was really good because she wasn't nearly as popular. Geez, they're just doing all this. Okay, I guess. So that is very likely a Sickles. So I am terrified. I suppose that it could be a Vanguard. I'm just going to say that I can't beat Sickles. Like, I'm just dead to that card. And they can cast here because they have the Glasshopper. Okay, so they don't have it. It is the Vanguard. Oh, no, I guess they could have played it. Well, yeah, they'll play this instead. That's fine. I would usually like to play Vara here, but they have the Glasshopper, which means that she's not going to do very much. They'll sacrifice the Glasshopper. I guess that it does make it difficult to cast the... Like, all you can do is, like, attack with these. Saves me a couple damage. Sure. Let's do this. She does enough. Okay, I was assuming that they were going to sacrifice the Glasshopper here, and then that would mean that they couldn't cast the Vanguard this turn, most likely, or they would have difficulty casting Vanguard this turn. Instead, they actually decided to sacrifice the 2/4, which is not what I expected, but still, like, roughly the same. Things still stand that they can only attack for 6, though. Which is a lot, given the fact that I'm at 15. Okay, holding back the Scorpion as well. I don't like this. Jesus. Well. Right, I forgot about Daria. That feels terrible, but I think it's correct because it just limits the power of Daria, which is the thing that they can play this turn that, like, it would make a lot of sense for them to have it. And then, like, say they play Daria, activate it on Titan because it has a -2 reduction in cost. right? Her base cost, yeah, so she's at 2 right now. She's a base cost of 4. So they activate on that, then they attack with both Daria and the Titan. I think I'm just dead no matter what I do, because I gain 3, take 6. Not cool. Pretty close. I'd have to see it out all on the battlefield. Torch. Oh, sure. Okay, so I'm dead. But, like, Xaxes, too. That sucks. Oh, well. So yeah, I think that this definitely also struggles against decks like this one as well, because we don't play Hailstorm in the deck. That's something that is a little bit easy to sort of overlook when looking at the composition, because most of the decks that are of the Feln Control-ish variety are playing some number of Hailstorms, and this one is omitting it. And that is a pretty big hole, since we have decks like Rats and Paraxis tokens that are around. So ultimately what I would say with this deck is that like maybe there's something here, but I think that it mostly felt to me like it was a surgical tool to attack a very specific metagame, and it feels like there are some matchups that are really bad, and you're just going to like kind of flounder and die when you get matched up there. You just don't have tools to deal with them. So that's frustrating to me at playing a deck like this. I mean, it can definitely work well when you do get the right matchups, but you're very much playing matchup roulette. I would personally want to try and skew the deck in a way that had a little bit more well-roundedness. I think that some of that could come from expanding or changing some of the features of the market. I still think that the Seer of the Past seems like nonsense, since there's so little of the, I mean, I guess it's fine as a blocker if you're against a time-ish match. Like, I just don't think that that's really what the game is about right now, though. So I don't know. Interested to see if this goes places that are interesting, but for right now, I'm not super excited about it. Maybe someone out there is willing to prove me wrong, though. But that'll do it for today. Thank you so much for joining me for this video, talking about Feln from the ECQ this past weekend, and doing a little bit more of these. I've been enjoying doing these videos, and I'll talk to you all again soon.